While writing this book, you were saying that you were able to go back and visit, but have not been back since the book was released. What were those visits like for you?
It was interesting. You know, I had not gone home for 17 years first. So I hadn't seen my father for 17 years. It was quite an amazing, emotional experience to see my father after all those years.
Mm.
And in fact, at first when I saw him from a distance, I didn't recognize him, because when I left he was in his 40s. When I went back he was in his 60s, and that people change, especially under tough circumstances, a lot. So from that perspective it was incredibly emotional. And I also sensed, from the moment you land at the airport, you can sense it, that things have changed. People dress differently. Back in my days, women didn't have to wear the chador, didn't have to cover themselves. People dressed any way they wanted. The first time I went, men couldn't even wear short sleeves. So it hits you. You immediately see it. The book is called Rooftops of Tehran. And back in those days, people spent a lot of time on the rooftops, partying up there, communicating, which to me was a symbol of openness of the society, that you could be up there, see everybody, and everybody could see you. When I went back, I found my friend who's in the book, and at one point I told him, let's go up on the rooftop. And he looked at me and said, why? And then the two of us had this moment of realization that the world had changed so much that they didn't do that anymore. People don't go up on the rooftops. The society has become a much more closed society than what I had left behind.
Can you talk a little bit about your technical writing process? Did you write this, 9 to 5, or did you write late at night? What's your creative process in that regard?
That's a great question. I do my best writing at nights when everybody is asleep. So I stay up very late. Now, that doesn't mean I don't write during the day. But normally my day starts with, after coffee and all that, it starts with a couple of hours of reading, looking at the news. There are certain sites that I go to Wall Street, Economist, Alternet, Truth Out, Truth Dig, those kinds of sites, to see what's happening in the world. Then I spend about an hour and a half reading novels. It seems to me that I need to get that area of the brain that sort of stimulates the words and make those words come out, sort of stimulate that area. And then I start writing. And most of the time I start with reading what I've written the night before, and edited. And then I might take some time off, a little bit of time off, and then come back to it.
I'm always interested to hear that story about the realization that you are now a published author, that dream has come true. And with your book, it's a great chance to check in because it's your very first novel. What did that feel like to have your book published? And also, how do you like interacting with the readers?
I tell you, that experience of the seeing your name on the cover was amazing. I actually wrote about it in a blog, and it was published a couple of places, and it's on my website as well. When the package came and I opened the package and pulled out that first book and saw what it looks like and felt it in my hands and smelled it, the tears rolled down, and all day I just couldn't stop them. I wasn't sad. It wasn't that, but it was an amazing emotional experience all day, which lasted all day. So it was wonderful. Now, in terms of interactions with readers, I've done a lot of events. I've done a tour, obviously, and both in the Bay Area and outside of the Bay Area. But I also have invited book clubs to call me, and so once or twice a week, I'm usually on Skype or phone call. I've talked to more than 150, I think, book clubs so far, and if they're local, I even sometimes go to meet with them. The experience has been wonderful, absolutely wonderful. It has taught me a lot about the readers and how they process information, and sometimes the unintended consequences of what you write. You know, that people read things in your novel that you sometimes perhaps did not intend to convey, but that's the power of perception, right?
Yeah. If you could have one filmmaker from any era of Hollywood direct the movie of Rooftops of Tehran, who would you like to see bring that vision to life?
Of the American directors, probably Coppola. I think him. Of Iranian directors, Abbas Kiarostami or Mr. Makhmalbaf, I would love to see them take a look at the book. We had a call from Sony Pictures, but it hasn't gone anywhere, so it was very interesting. I can't wait, hoping that it would turn into a movie. Everybody who reads it said this would make a good movie.
It feels like it, yeah. A book that had a huge success by a Bay Area author who has a similar story of coming to the U.S. was The Kite Runner, which probably that book came out just as you were starting to write your book. One thing I really loved about that book was both the experience of the rich history of Kabul at a different time, but also how much East Bay local content there was in that story. And I've spoken with that author several times, and I always ask him which cafes in Hayward or Fremont have the best, most authentic Afghani food. Similarly, are there places in the Bay Area that have that sense of cuisine that you remember from Tehran as a young person?
Oh, absolutely. There is Albor's restaurant in Fremont that has great food. There's one actually in the city as well. There's a restaurant in the city called Meikade that's really good. Right here in San Ramon, there's a restaurant called Shiraz that serves really fantastic, great food. So it's a great place to go and relax. So there are a number of very good Persian restaurants in the area.
I'm curious about, since we're here at the beautiful Walnut Creek Public Library, did you spend a lot of time in libraries as a child, and what were the libraries like in Tehran when you were growing up?
I remember the very first time I went to a library, actually, and I still remember the name of the way the lady looked. I wonder what she's doing these days. It was a young lady, very beautiful, very kind, and asked me what I was looking for, and I was looking for, I can't remember the book, but I was looking for something adventurous, and she was kind enough to take me around and show me how to look for books, and that became, the start of me going to the libraries. But I think libraries are great for the cities. I mean, obviously they're a wonderful source of tourist attraction. They develop, they create, economic interest in the city. A great destination for people to come and gather, and it's a great source for learning for the youth. I think there's tremendous advantages to having a library of this kind around. I mean, when you think of, for example, City of Lafayette, it's almost impossible not to talk about their library. So I'm really thrilled that this library was built. I think it will do very well. I understand that the very first day they had 8,500 visitors.
That was like a Beatles concert.
Which tells you the interest, right?
Yeah. How do you use the library now as a resident of the area?
Well, for my writing, I do obviously a lot of research. And so for me, it's very important to go in, find a place where I can sit down, find the things that I don't necessarily have to buy and have at my home. Take a look at the research. Spend some time, looking at different sources, books that you don't necessarily find in bookstores, etc. So from that perspective, it's extremely helpful to me.
It is a real treat to get to meet you in person. We're so thrilled to have your book do so well and come from the East Bay, but tell such a larger story on the world stage. So, Mahbod, it's been a pleasure to speak with you. Thanks for coming to the Get Lit television show, and thank you for watching.